Hey everybody, Patton here, welcome back to the channel. So the Castlevania Anniversary Collection released by Konami back on May 16th. Before I get started, I have to give a huge thank you and shout out to MagGamerInc. He was doing a giveaway on his Twitch channel where I happened to win this copy on the Switch, so without him, I wouldn't be able to make this video and enjoy this game. So thank you so much to MagGamerInc. I'll leave a link to his Twitch channel as well as his social media in the description. So Konami's been on a roll releasing a lot of collections recently. You have the Castlevania collection here. They previously released an arcade collection and they have an upcoming Contra Anniversary Collection. On this collection you have 8 games. Castlevania, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest, Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, Super Castlevania 4, the Castlevania Adventure or Castlevania The Adventure, Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge, Castlevania Bloodlines, and Kid Dracula. I want to note that Kid Dracula has never actually been released here over in the States, so this is the first time we're officially seeing this localized in English. And at the bottom here we have a bonus book which has a ton of content in it. So we're going to take a look at the bonus book first. So Konami has named this the History of Castlevania Book of the Crescent Moon. It contains a whopping 79 pages of extra content. In the book we have the box art gallery, featured titles, person interviews, the research report, and design archives. So the first section is the box art gallery. You get to see the box arts for both the English and Japanese versions of all 8 games on the system. Since there is no English version of the Kid Dracula box art, we get all 3 box arts for Castlevania Bloodlines: Japanese, European, and American. The featured title section goes over each game in detail, kind of like the instruction booklet with controls, item descriptions, and a little bit of the backstory. The next section is the key person interviews. You have the music composer for some of the games in the series, Michiru Yamane, and Adi Shankar, the executive producer of the Netflix Castlevania series. The research reports goes over some of the Castlevania timeline as well as character relationships. Then you have the design archives, which is rough sketches and design documents on every single one of the games included. Of all the sections of the book, I think this one was the most interesting to me. There's something about seeing what was going through the developer minds as they were creating the games. So the 8 games here are the earliest games in the series, not counting Rondo of Blood. Rondo of Blood wasn't included because it came with the Castlevania Requiem release along with Symphony of the Night, so it's a little understandable why Konami didn't include it in this collection. Let's take a look at the game options. We're going to start with Castlevania. By holding down the L button on the Switch controller, we have access to the options menu. You have Save Replay, which does just that. It will save any gameplay that you've done in that session, which you can replay on the main menu. You have 1 quick save available per game, and then the next option is to load that quick save. I think the quick save option is a nice addition. A lot of people will be playing these games for the first time and they can be frustrating, especially if you're not used to that type of gameplay, which really doesn't care about how good you are at the game. You're going to get punished. Next option will show you the controls for each game. And now for the display settings, there are 6 settings you can choose from. Original, 4:3 with scan lines. Pixel Perfect, Pixel Perfect with scan lines. 16:9, and 16:9 with scan lines. You also have 3 frame settings. You have Type A with no frame. The Type B frame has the Castlevania box art on the left as well as a gold texture on the right, and the Type C frame is the red texture surrounding the entire game window. My preferred way to play these games on the collection is the original display with the red frame. Then you have the game reset, which will reset your game, and the exit option, which will take you back to the menu. The 2 Game Boy games in the collection have another set of display options. You have Original, Pixel Perfect, and Dot Matrix. You also have an option for the color filter with Pixel Perfect or scan lines. Again, my preference with the Game Boy games, and that just could be because I grew up with it, is the Dot Matrix, the green background. I love this background. It really brings me back to the original Game Boy. So let's briefly go over each game in the collection. Castlevania, released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1987. Transylvania, a small peaceful country in the heart of medieval Europe. The people of Transylvania whisper the legend of Dracula to their children at bedtime, only half believing it to be true. This is Dracula, the Prince of Darkness, resurrected upon the face of the earth, and each time he is manifested, his powers grow stronger. But all was not lost. The successor to the Belmont family bloodline, a young man by the name of Simon was determined to rid the land of this terrible evil. Taking the mysterious whip left to him by his father, he ventured into Dracula's castle to face the Count, alone. Castlevania II: Simon's Quest released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1988. You're Simon Belmont, bravest of the brave, boldest of the bold, a gothic warrior respected by kings. You earned your praise not by crushing Viking invaders or Turkish hordes, but by destroying the evil Count Dracula in a duel to the death at Castlevania. But your victory proved painful as the wounds inflicted during the duel slowly gnawed at your soul. Fear not, brave Simon, for if you have the courage to risk your life, you will find the strength to win again. Castlevania: The Adventure, released on the Game Boy in 1989. Now you're in the misty midst of Dracula's less than welcoming lair. There's no place to hide, no place to run. The only direction you can go is dead ahead into the darkness that is Castlevania. Your sole means of protection are your mystic whip and mindful wits, which will lead you through Dracula's menacing maze. Along the way, be sure to light the candles with the tip of your whip. It's a surefire way to unleash life-sustaining items such as hearts, crystals, and crosses of gold. You'll begin your quest with 3 lives to spare. 10,000 points, you'll receive a bonus life. For every 20,000 points thereafter, you'll be granted another reincarnation. Castlevania III: Dracula's Curse, released for the NES in 1990. The time is 100 years before Simon Belmont's birth. The moon burns red overhead and black clouds loom large on the horizon. The last line of defense is you, Trevor Belmont, the forefather of Simon Belmont, but your chances are slimmer. In fact, the only real edge you have over this fang-sharpened freak is your power to transform into 3 different partner spirits. Each of these spirits will confront you as you fight through 17 possible levels of never-ending fright. So, go forth, young Trevor, into the cold black night, where death lurks around every corner and evil lingers on every stone. And remember, if your courage and cunning are any less than magnificent, or if you fail to choose the correct paths of fate, you'll be banished to the world of the undead, and zombies will rule until the end of time. Castlevania II: Belmont's Revenge, released on the Game Boy in 1991. In the first Castlevania adventure, the fearless vampire hunter Christopher Belmont fought toe-to-toe and whip-to-wing against the vampire king, Count Dracula. 15 years later, a ceremony was held in the town of Transylvania. The son of Christopher Belmont, Soleil Belmont, had come of age, and it was time for the title of Vampire Hunter to be passed down to him. The ceremony was the chance Dracula had waited for. Soleil received great sacred power in the ceremony to mark his adulthood, and Dracula used his last bit of magic to turn Soleil's powers against him, transforming him into a terrible demon. Horrified to learn that his son had been altered by the forces of evil, Christopher Belmont determined to save Soleil and break the ambitions of the Count. He journeyed to the new castles, each ruled by a different power of darkness placed there by the Soleil demon to stop anyone who would tamper with the mystic spell Dracula had cast upon him. Nevertheless, in order to save the village of Transylvania and free his son, Christopher had no choice but to go fight once again. Super Castlevania IV, released on the Super Nintendo in 1991. In the small country of Transylvania, there is a legend which says that every 100 years the forces of good mysteriously become weak and the forces of evil gain a foothold onto our world. The evil manifests itself in the form of one of the most feared creatures to roam the earth, the vampire Dracula. Every 100 years, Dracula is revived and grows stronger and stronger. His goal is to turn all humanity into creatures of darkness, to be ruled under his iron fist. It is time once again for Simon Belmont to call forth the powers of good to aid him in his battle. Armed with his mystical whip, his courage, and centuries-old knowledge of Belmont family training, he sets forth on his mission. Castlevania Bloodlines, released for the Sega Genesis in 1994. Journey back to 1987 and the Transylvanian countryside of Romania. It was a time of fear and dread for the simple people of this European country. They lived under the dark rule of Count Dracula for many years. He was a ruthless warrior when he was alive, but he was even more terrifying in death. For you see, Dracula is king of the vampires. But even one as powerful as Dracula has enemies. From the early 16th century, the Belmonts, including Trevor, Christopher, and the legendary Simon, have been fighting Dracula and his minions throughout Europe. Finally, in 1897, Quincy Morris, a descendant of the House of Belmont, overcame great odds to defeat Dracula and send him to his eternal grave. Unfortunately, since Quincy was so badly beaten in his battle with the Count, he lost his own life moments after plunging a wooden stake into Dracula's chest. Quincy's legacy has continued, however. His son, John Morris, and John's childhood friend Eric Lacard had witnessed the Quincy-Dracula showdown from the shadows. That scene changed their lives forever. As they grew older, they swore to rid the planet of the evil creatures of the underworld. 20 years later, Elizabeth Bartley. The name conjures up images of a regal countess who, in the year 1421, was found kneeling over the body of a dead young man. He had 2 puncture wounds in his neck. And not only was she a vampire, she was the niece of Count Dracula. Bartley is bent towards one goal, reviving her dead uncle, Count Dracula. In a twist of fate, Morris and Lacard have been drawn towards the ominous castle. Their task is simple: defeat Bartley before she can complete her macabre objective. Completing their task, however, will involve many perilous encounters and life or death acts of bravado. Is your heart strong enough for this challenge? Kid Dracula, released for the Famicom in 1990, released for the first time in English in this collection. One day, Kid Dracula arises from 10,000 years of slumber. A can of tomato juice in his hand, Kid Dracula was enjoying TV for the first in 10,000 years when out of the blue one of his servant bats suddenly bites his head. What the fang is going on? What are you doing to me? Don't you know that I am the king of this world, Kid Dracula? Hurrah for Garamoth, screamed the bat. The bat then fainted, leaving Kid Dracula in complete confusion. And then, boom! A big scary demon appeared on the TV screen. I conquered the demon realm while you were sleeping like a log. You shall call me the Demon King Garamoth from now on. No, I am king. After Kid Dracula smashed his TV in anger, he put on his dad's cloak and left his castle to go on a journey to defeat the so-called Demon King Garamoth. So after spending some time with this, I love this collection. I'm a huge Castlevania fan, and I think Konami did a really good job with this. I love the bonus book. I love that they included so much extra content. I don't know if you can find that anywhere else. I haven't looked for it, but the fact that they give you almost 80 pages of extra stuff in this is awesome. This is a really nice menu. I love that you have a little bit of backstory over on the left side there when you're waiting to look at one of the games. And you're getting 8 games for only $20. There's also rumors that there may be another collection out there. I think Konami had made a statement saying the first Castlevania collection, so people really picked up on that. So we may see another one of these with the Metroidvania style games like Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Aria of Sorrow. So that would be really nice if they could include those. Once again, we probably won't see Symphony of the Night because that was released for Requiem. But for $20, this is definitely worth it in my opinion. The only issue I had, which had nothing to do with the game, was trying to play it with this controller. This is my daughter's Switch, and I'm not used to how this works at all. Luckily, I have one of these, an 8BitDo Famicom 30 Pro controller, which has all the buttons I need, and you can sync this to the Switch no problem. It really made the experience a lot better using this. So if you are a Castlevania fan, even in the smallest sense, I highly recommend you get the Anniversary Collection. If you're somebody new who wants to get into the series, I think this is a really good place to start. These are very difficult games. They will hone your skills to be one of the best players of the retro age ever. So let me know what you guys thought of the collection in the comments section. Did you enjoy it? Do you think that Konami could have made some better choices on the games they included here? Did you like the addition of the bonus book? Do you think it was just tacked on last minute? For those of you who got it, how are you liking it? Do you enjoy it? Do you feel like the games are a little bit too hard, or do you think they're just hard enough? So as always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.